Yo, what's up, y'all? Welcome in. I am Andy. This is Tactile Audio, and today we're doing Ravens. I get a lot of questions. What's these touchscreens, etc., etc. And these, it's not just touchscreens. Your touchscreens can't do any of this. And so these are Ravens from Stephen Slate Audio. I do content for Stephen Slate Audio in regards to Raven, lots of training, like video type stuff. Because I've been using Ravens for a very long time, like 10 years or so, I guess, like since the year or the year after they came out. Changes everything for me because I don't want to ever use this mouse. I hate using the mouse when I'm making music. Like, that's not what music is about. Making music is about making music. And to me, it's a very tactile thing, you know, hence the name of this channel. I really believe that. When I'm making music, I'm mixing here with my hands. I'm editing here with my hands. And so naturally, you want to know, like, what's up with that? How is all that? And so when I say this is not just a touch screen, sure, it's a fantastic touch screen. Each one of these is a 32-inch touch screen, and they're as good as touch screens get. 10-point touch, and you can, if you can do 10 things at once, like on the console, like, go for it. You can do 10 faders. But it's a fantastic touchscreen, but it's more than that. It's every DAW that Raven hooks up to, which is pretty much all the big ones. It's this major, super crazy assistant for like everything that you're doing, right? Because you have, of course, you can touch things, but none of the DAWs are naturally set up for that, except for like Studio One, which is now like Fender garbage or something. I don't know. I don't use it. I've heard some bad things, but so they're not really set up to do that. But Raven adapts them to that, right? And so what we get instantly, of course, is we have a single finger like gesture. So like, let's look a little closer at the Raven screen. We've got 1 finger, 2 finger, 3 finger, 4 finger, and 5 finger gestures. Like, and this is how we're used to working, you know, in the modern world, is we touch our screens and we drag things around. And so 1 finger is selection and all the stuff like that you would normally think a pointer would do. 2 fingers, as you just saw, lets you move the screen around. It lets me stop. It lets me start the playhead. Just interrupted myself. 3 fingers, you start doing even more stuff. If we want to duplicate a clip, we can do that. And we've just duplicated that clip and it's whatever. 3 finger double taps. We undo the things. So you got 3 finger things, 4 finger things, 5 finger things. We can change all of our, so we got the pointer tool. If we want that tool, now we've got that tool. If we want to go back to the pointer tool, we're back to it. Fade tool, like whatever you kind of want. You've got 4 options with your main tools right there. So you're instantly and very intuitively like just jumping around all over the place and getting around the score as fast as you possibly could want to. You're like, what's this thing down here? Let's just go and have a look at it. I got a fingernail on the screen because I'm sitting off to the side. So, but 4 finger drag to the right and you're in and you're out, like just like that. So you can get in and be like, what's this thing over here I wanted to have a look at? No problem. Zoom in, zoom out. We can set our cursor back over here, drag right in, have a look. We're cool. We can go back out, and that fast. Like, try and do that with these little controls up here. You can't do that with those little controls up there. Not that fast. No way in the world. And so it just goes kind of on and on. So you've got your gestures, and mind you, like I said, I'm kind of sitting off to the side to be out of the way of the camera, but generally I'm right in front of this, and we're in 2-hand situation. You know, you can do all the things that you would expect with a touch screen interface. So you've got all your gesture stuff, and you're like, okay, that's cool. What else is so great about this thing? Well, down on the bottom, you can see this bar. This bar on the bottom, this is called the batch commander, I think, maybe, but it's where the batch commands live. So all of these buttons are commands that are like little programs that can like run on your system to do stuff. So in my case, I have some I don't do a lot with the DAW, like complicated editing and stuff. I just like make music, record tracks, you know, and try and get things to sound good. But so that means I'm going to do a lot of takes, you know, on different tracks. So I can use, you know, this button here is called stop, undo, record, and it's going to stop, undo, and record whatever I'm doing on a track. So if I was to record enable that track right there and start actually recording it, and it's going to get into the point there and it'll start recording. Oh, that's a MIDI track. They might both be MIDI tracks. Like, no, that one's not. So let's see if we start recording on this track. And so you can see we're recording here and we can just kind of do like that pretty quick. Be right in there and looking at it, which is, of course, that's Raven. It's fun. So we've got our thing there and we're like, oh, I screwed up. So I'm just going to push this button and it's going to do stop, undo, and record all at once for me. I use that button all the time. And like, that's kind of what Raven is about. It's like your imagination. Like, how do you work and how can you tailor your workflow to where you interact like with things minimally? If, you know, that would be a bunch of mouse clicks or space bars or tool or like, you know, key command combination things, you know, just to we can just do that and we're off and running again. So that I love. It saves me oodles of time, right? Let's undo that little record there. I need to be on the window. Hello, maybe. So there's our undo. But it saves you oodles of time, right? But it saves you a ton of time, you know, and so like things like this, I'm always kind of picky with the ends of stuff. We can get this tool, we can go over in here and probably just, and that's going to be cleaned up. And same thing on the end of this. And probably if there was any little space bar hits when I was done recording or anything like that, it'll take care of that. Or I just undo that stuff super fast. Start the playhead going again. Zoom back out. Get a look at everything. Where are we? So what you can do with the batch commands is bonkers, you know. And so what it looks like is if I'm gonna like press and hold. This is our programming window. And so you have all these things. You can do factory stuff, user stuff, there's built-in stuff, there's DAW stuff. We can do batch commands, key commands, menu items, MIDI messages, mouse selects where it like tracks the mouse on the screen and those things. Like, it's amazing the amount of stuff. Where'd our play go? It's amazing the amount of stuff that you can get done in that little programmer. I don't know why it stopped playing. But so this is my E button and it simply types E, you know, for like whatever. And that's going to open and close that bottom window because I don't even want to like hit the keyboard, you know, so maybe I just want to do that and make it go away. Then I have that button right there. I can select, get my pointer selector, do that, hit the E. Here's my stuff. Make it go back away. I just don't like to ever have to press the mouse. It changes your experience. It changes your experience entirely because you don't have to. The mouse is way over here, and I don't want to do computer stuff. I'm doing music, man. This is fun stuff. This is not work. So again, you know, that's just me. But I like to have a more musical experience, and I feel like I do for sure. And not only that, I mean, if you're getting right down to it, this is way easier and faster because if I want to like add tracks, rename tracks, etc. So like, let's just do that. Let's go down to the bottom of the project here and we'll like add some tracks. One cool thing like in Pro Tools, because like little things change between DAW to DAW, but like some of them have cool features. Pro Tools, you can drag from the left over here and it's doing it here too. Look at it making new tracks. It's dependent on how far I drag. I just dragged so many new tracks because each one of those little increments is a new track. I didn't know Logic would do it, but look, Logic does it too. And so, well, now we've done a whole bunch of, we didn't want to do that. How am I going to get out of this without using the mouse? Bottom track is selected. I'm going to hit Shift over here because we have all of our modifier keys. I'm going to Shift select the top track. I missed it by one, but then I'm going to hit the delete track button. And boom. You know, how easy was that? So now I have that one. That's cool. Let's add like one or two more. So we'll just drag out a little bit. Two more go in. Now I think I could probably do like shift and click on the top one, get the 3 selected and do copy name times 4. it's kind of doing it. If I had 4 tracks right there and started on the top one, you know, so like there's 4. Let's rename the top one T1 and now do rename by 4. Where is it? It's a built-in function, which is cool because there's so many built-in functions. And there you can see it's now incrementing our numbers. So you don't even have to rename tracks. You don't have to do any of this. What if I want like my normal virtual mix rack, if I want to drop plugins on there? That too is just as easy as just a button press. And then, so that's my VMR button. And it's going to take off, do a little search for mix rack, put it in there. There's my default preset. I'm ready to go. Little tap, out of the way. So this is Raven. You know, it's not just a touchscreen. Like that'd be cool if you had just a touchscreen, but this is so much more than a touchscreen. You know, it's like you've got a MIDI pad controller. You can hook this up to any instrument, any MIDI instrument, or not, or to your lights, or anything that does MIDI. You can hook up those pads to it. Control your markers. You've got a whole marker toolbar down here, up to 16 markers right there at your fingertips. Close that one. You got your DAW tools down here, edit tools, like how much stuff, like, and then, oh dude, the floating mixer. Sometimes I even forget this thing is here. But so you can get a whole lot of your mix up here on the floating mixer. And this mixer works just like, you know, the classic console in here, which I'm about to show you in a second. But, you know, this thing can be super handy. We'll collapse this down a bit. And you can see over here now, you've got all of you got some batch commands, marker points up here. Yeah, this is all these different batch commands you can have set up. Markers down here, your basic tools, your play controls, your scrub, your selected channels, volume. I mean, dude, is too cool. And that's the floating mixer, you know, and it's floating because of course you can put it anywhere you want to put it, which is super handy. You can just have this nice mixer floating around, which is really like, it's console style mixer. I can't talk very good. But so then we also have, before I get out of here on this screen, that is a command matrix. So all these are batch commands too. And you can see I have them set up here. All these will drop in these plugins that I like, you know, and these instruments that I like, or they will show tracks. If you can set this up to where your tracks are grouped, and you can just press a button, and on the console and in the project, it'll just show you those tracks, and that's all. Or hide a bunch of tracks. It's like so completely convenient. There's an A button to go into automation mode over here. Again, I don't like to hit the keyboard ever, so even more batch commands available to you there. I could have this bottom row snapped up one more. Look at all that. So if we go into like the category button, look at all these categories. So all this comes built in, and you can just explore the buttons in the DAW, and you'll learn like a lot about things your DAW did that you didn't even know. But we've got editing, we've got recording, mixing, MIDI, and then 2 user areas. And, you know, all of this couldn't be more easy to modify. This is going into the editing portion. It's like, all you got to do if you find something you like, say, click on it and drag it. We can drop it up on this new toolbar up here, which would be like a user toolbar. As you can see, all these are up here. We can drag stuff around, move stuff around, customize the whole experience that we want to have right here. Close that. Over on this Raven over here, I have a little thing about you've modified. Do you want to save it as default? And we're like, oh yeah, sure, whatever. And that's how you can set stuff up. Just to be, I'm like not saving. That's how you, because I don't want to overwrite my normal stuff. That's how you can set it up to be like totally customized situation. We can hit this minus, collapse that back down. You get to choose which sets of these are on this bar, and so as you can see, like these are the ones that I want to have in Logic. And I mean, it's so cool. So that's that screen. If I hit this icon here, it's going to swap the screens so you can have a look at the classic console, which is really, this is why I came to Raven in the first place, was because I grew up mixing on real gear. And that's the experience that I wanted. It's the experience that I missed, and I just wanted to get back to it. And of course, this was the first thing that really let me really get back to the experience. It's like a real console. It's completely ergonomic, like you can use, as I said earlier, all of your fingers if you can get them on a thing. But, your pans will be up here and work just like normal pans. But then you can see you've also got all these icons that make it really easy to see. Here's my guitar tracks. Here's some synth tracks, drum tracks, vocal tracks. Like I don't have to hunt for tracks because I don't want to waste time doing that either. One more thing you'll notice above, here's all my plugins. So I can now just from the console, just tap like a plugin and we're good to go. Make my adjustments. Sweet, no problem. Change a mic, boom, done. Close it up, move on to the next thing, adjust that volume. And so it's all so organic, kind of, and intuitive, that's what I'm looking for. It's just so intuitive. I can switch out to inserts, and now I'm over in insert mode, and I can check out like my delays, or what's on insert 2, or my reverbs are on 1, change those, manipulate whatever. Switch back over, and so I can do my sends. I can do a lot of stuff can happen right here from the classic console. What if I just want to like flip it up this way, and this kind of puts just the faders, just the good stuff, and all the text up out of my view. So I'm just mixing and I'm focusing just on the music. You're like, wait, but the bank buttons, etc. We can use bank buttons. We can also use our 2 fingers, just like that. We can do 1 finger to go like 1 channel at a time, but it's very, very flexible, and it does things like that's like things that I wish a real console would kind of do. It lets me really just focus on the mixing, listen to the music. If I need to access a thing, I can access a thing, but if I don't need to access a thing, I don't, and I'm back here working on my score. And it's like that's really. Without getting deep into stuff and like looking at actual batch commands, like other than the stop, undo, record and, like key command type stuff, we can program up stuff, it gets pretty personal is the truth. And, but yeah, that's another quick look at a couple of a couple of different things that float my boat that I like about the Raven. It's just the experience, really. It's just different than everything else, and I'm not gonna part with it ever. Pretty much, you can kind of if you can beat me in a fight, you can have it. But I'm pretty squirrely, so good luck. But anyways, that's Raven. I'm Andy. This is Tactile Audio. Cheers.